Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is December 5th, 2022, and I'm speaking with Oscar. We might have James Griffey on later on, maybe. We're not sure yet. But we're speaking with Oscar. Oscar went to Agape. He's going to let you know what year he was there, how long he was there. He's basically going to give his story for us. So go ahead, Oscar. Start from the beginning. Let us know how long you were there.
All right. I went to Agape around, it was in 2016, June, July-ish. Actually, it was July because I would have remembered the fireworks if I could have gotten there in June. But I got there June, July, stayed there till I graduated in 20, well, the graduation ceremony was in 2018, but I finished a little bit before that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then became an intern after graduation and stayed for, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 months after that, maybe less.
Okay.
And um, my parents had originally sent me there. I wouldn't say that I disagree with being sent to a boarding school, but because of what I was doing, just maybe not this boarding school. Um,
Yeah. Go ahead.
um, but I was, typical, hanging out with the wrong crowd. Started skipping my classes. Um, Started smoking weed. I was on these ADHD pills, Vyvanse, and I started selling those to buy weed. And my parents saw me going down this like
Oh,
spiral path. So they originally was going to send me to a military school. Um, the only problem with the military school is I'm a diabetic. I'm a type 1 diabetic.
okay.
So they don't accept type 1 diabetics.
Well, sure. Any type of disease or sickness that you have, they want you. They want you healthy.
Right.
So,
Agape was like, we'll take them gladly. Money, money, money.
yep.
But yeah, so that was around like what, 2 years, a little bit over 2 years that I was there.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, a lot of people ask me when I tell them that I was an intern, and a student, like, well, you didn't like the place. Why would you stay? And I thought, it'd be different. Being a staff member, they'll treat me like them,
Right.
and maybe I can be a help to these boys. Or, I sat through all this and I hated it. I was like, maybe I can be, something they can laugh with, one of those staff members.
Yeah.
But it was nothing like that.
Yeah. Sometimes they hype you up, and then it's just not what they made it out to be. You know,
Not at
sour
all.
grapes, man. You know. So,
Not at all.
were you picked up at home?
No. So actually, my parents had given me like I want to say like a 1 or 2 month warning. They were like, we're going to send you in August, no matter what, to a military school. But if, you start acting, you start, I'm sorry, if you don't clear your act up, we're just going to send you now. And it was one of those situations where my parents were like, well, we're going now. And
Right.
we drove to about it. It was about a 10-hour drive, I believe. I really didn't even believe I was still going. I thought,
Your your audio is breaking up.
is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any way you could go ahead, keep talking. Yeah, it's still breaking up. I can hear it crackling as you're talking. Um,
Hmm.
let me let me
Um,
let me try something here. Hold on.
so um, the it when I had gotten there as a student, you know, it's the same old typical with every other story. Um, but as an intern, nothing really changed. I thought that things would have changed. I would have been treated, a little bit higher. I would have been able to, talk with the boys. I wanted to teach. I wanted to work in the learning center because that
Okay.
was what I was. I was their valedictorian of that year. So I decided I wanted to work in the learning center. Well, that was probably the worst decision I've ever made because it took, I think I lost freedom becoming an intern. Free time was never a thing because if there was a study hall for the students that had to stay for study hall, that was my free time,
Oh,
continuous,
okay.
continuing teaching. And I still slept in the dorm room, um, like any other student. Still had to ask to go to the bathroom. Um, maglock. I didn't have a maglock key, so everywhere it was like I was a student basically. Still,
Well, yeah, you're basically in training, a staff member in training, basically.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
right,
So I can understand. I can understand how, being that you weren't a staff member yet, you know what I mean? So
right,
basically you didn't have the privileges that the staff members had. Understandable, but they should
right,
have
right,
treated
right,
you
right,
they should have treated you with a little more respect, even though you were still,
right, right.
a student. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Um, but it came to the point where I had talked to one of the staff members, and they were telling me that the internship is a 6-month process, and it was no pay, 6 months, basically working for 6 months for free. Um, which I understand internships, you don't get paid for internships, but I thought, a 6-month internship was a little much.
Sure.
Um, so I had talked to, um, he's one of the Clemenson's sons. I want to say, um, his name's escaping me right now.
Brian?
Yeah, Brother Brian. He he sat down with me and he told me, he was like, well, maybe you're just not fit for the position. He said you could do better things, and I think he was just gaslighting me into, because he knew what I was trying to do. He he knew I was trying to, I was one of the, what you can say, one of the homies. So I couldn't be what was needed for the program.
Right. Not quite Agape staff material, basically.
Right, right. I wasn't slamming people and
But they were going to string
putting
you
them in
along.
self-restraint.
They were going to string you along just to get the help that they needed out of you. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Typical
right.
typical tactics.
But
So,
and go
how
on.
how long were you there before you got the internship?
Um, from 2016 till whenever graduation is in 2018.
So,
And then, like, at the graduation ceremony, they handed us our intern shirts.
what color were those?
They were dark blue. So,
Dark
like,
blue.
it goes from dark blue, and then the green shirts are staff.
Okay. Did you ever wear a brown shirt?
Oh no, I made
No.
sure to stay out of the brown shirts. I was in Browntown. I was in Browntown a lot. Um, but not really a brown shirt. I was in Browntown for school academics. For the first year that I was there, like I said, when my parents sent me, I didn't believe that they were actually going to send me. So, for the first year, I held on to that feeling,
Yeah.
oh, this is just a sham. They're going to pick me up any moment. So I didn't do any of my schoolwork. I do here and there just to stay out of, um, the study hall because I didn't want to, give up my free time. But once that year hit, I got a phone call from my parents, and they had told me, they're like, "You're there till you graduate. So however long you wanna do that, go ahead."
And
And
they
that's when
did
the wake up call.
and they did realize that it wasn't an accredited school, did they?
Oh yeah, no, nope.
Wow. So basically,
that's still to this day is crazy to me.
yeah. So all that so-called education right down the toilet, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
go ahead.
but even with the school, the being accredited, like even if it was accredited, the way they do their credits and stuff is so mixed up in shambles. Because I remember I had gotten there and they told me that my credits from my previous high school had started me off in my sophomore year or my freshman year.
Okay.
But I was halfway through my sophomore year, so I should have had my freshman and then sophomore, like half of my sophomore year. And it wasn't until I was like halfway done with where they had started me that they were like, "Oh no, your credits came in. You no longer need to do these paces." And that aggravated me to the most because it was just time that I had wasted doing schoolwork that I didn't really need to do.
Those
And
books,
even at the
those books were garbage anyway.
yeah,
You know.
it was like you had to teach yourself. Like even the teachers that were there weren't really teachers. Like I was a teacher and I had no degree in teaching. Like who was I to teach these kids, to lead them to success in their future? I was just them 2 days ago. Like,
Yeah. I don't think any of the staff had any teaching degrees or certificates or
oh,
anything like that.
oh
You know.
no.
So
Maybe through ACE, which was probably a packet for them.
yeah, well, with that certificate that I got from ACE, you might as well be holding a turd in your hand because it's worthless.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I say the same thing. I say the same thing about my valedictorian medal. I was like, if the credits aren't even worth anything, what's this worth?
Yeah,
Like, it's a paperweight at this point.
pretty much. Yeah, it's not something you want to hang on your wall, you know. So,
Right.
so you get through 2 years, you get your internship, 6 months. So, and you said that they basically treated you like a student for
Like
those
a
six
student. Yeah, I was still a
for
student.
those 6 months. Um, did after you didn't finish the 6 months, did you?
No, I left before that
You
because
left.
like I said, I talked to Brian and I was like, man, like, I, don't- this isn't how I do things. I don't want to be, that guy. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not. And he's like, well, maybe this isn't the program for you then. And that's when I called my parents and I was like, man, I gotta go. I can't. And
Yeah.
there happened to be an opportunity where my sister was moving to California and they needed help moving. So that was my out.
Well, I'll tell you, that was uh that was a smart move, you know.
Oh, yeah,
So saved you a lot
for
of
sure.
heartache. Now, you said that you're a type 1 diabetic. Were you able to get the insulin and everything that you needed over there?
Yes. It was it was a little weird because you know with it the lockdown kind of mentality.
Right.
Um, I'd have to find a staff member that was willing to go take me to do these things. I was on an insulin pump back then,
Okay.
but I had to be any insulin that I took had to be monitored. I couldn't just give myself insulin. So it had to be like, monitored and they had like my glucose tablets. If I had a low blood sugar, they were locked up. So I didn't have access to I had to go to a staff member to unlock, the stuff to get my stuff. And with workouts, that blood sugar was always dropping low with workouts. And
Yeah. Were you
even
go ahead.
go ahead.
Were
I'm
you
sorry.
were you given a certain diet? As far as, I
No,
mean, did
I
you
ate
eat
just like everybody
just
else.
like everybody else? Okay.
They didn't give me anything different or anything. They, I remember one time, I'm sure you've heard about Julio Sandoval.
Oh, oh,
One time I was told that I could not have like the thirds, like seconds, they do like first, seconds, and thirds. That I couldn't do that because of being a diabetic. It was too high in like carbs or whatever and sugars. Um, but I resolved that quickly because I was like, that's ridiculous, especially with a insulin pump. It's as easy as giving more insulin.
right.
Or if they always wanted me to do my insulin beforehand so that, I had a set amount of food that I had to eat, and I'd get in trouble if I didn't eat all the food because I gave myself all that insulin.
Oh, I'd like to see the degrees that these guys have when it comes to nursing, or if either one of them is a doctor. They don't have any clue how to take care of diabetics or anybody for that matter, as far
I
as
think
medical.
I think the biggest joke medically wise there was anything wrong with you, and, whether you sprained your ankle, whether you broke, a bone, something. It was ibuprofen and ice. That's all you got. They didn't believe in, the ADHD medications. They didn't believe in, depression medication. They didn't believe in any of this medication. It was ibuprofen and ice.
Right. No, they believed in the 5 words. All you need is Jesus.
Right, right.
Just trust in him and he'll
Cure my everything.
cure your everything. Exactly. Exactly. That's how they do it, man.
I remember one
Sucks.
time, when I first got there, I actually started the program. I don't know if you're familiar with insulin pumps, but they have like injection sites, the tube and then the site that it goes in. Well, my site had been infected because diabetics are prone to infections,
Sure.
and it ended up like gaping a hole like this big in my leg, like see right into my leg. And when you first go in, you do about a week of orientation where you work out with the Browntown kids. And with this infection in my leg, I couldn't put any pressure on my leg without it hurting greatly. And I remember Julio told me, he said, working the pain out will cure the infection. He said, keep, doing this, it'll cure the infection. And he made it a big shamble that, I had to do push-ups a certain way. He's like, "Are you a girl? You have to do push-ups, on one knee?" Because I couldn't put
Yeah.
pressure on that leg while I was doing my push-ups. And that was, degrading at the very least.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He doesn't have MD in front of his name. He has no clue. Plus, diabetics. Some of my dad's a diabetic, so I'm pretty. I don't have a lot of knowledge about diabetics, but I know a little bit, and I know that if you're cut, it takes longer to heal. For one thing, your
Oh yeah.
circulation isn't as good as a normal person. You know, so and you have to eat. A certain way. You can't just can't eat like me. You have to you have to worry about your blood sugar. Raising or lowering. Yeah, it's something that these idiots have no idea. They just suck it up, suck it up, get on the ground, do push-ups. They don't care.
Right.
So,
No.
but you survived. That's good.
Yeah.
So that cut on your leg, it took a while to heal, didn't it? They just
Oh, it took probably a good 4 months for it to heal.
yeah, just wrapped it up, kept it clean.
Yeah, some gauze and some wrap.
Yeah, and some ibuprofen, a lot of prayer.
A lot of
So
ibuprofen and ice
and prayer. Don't forget. Oh wait, they
and
probably weren't
prayer.
praying for you. They were
No,
probably
never.
praying that you didn't have to go to the hospital. That way they could still keep sapping money out of your family's account.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, 'cause what was it like 3,000 a month or something like that, or 4,000?
Something ridiculousness. I remember actually at my graduation, they asked my stepmom, they're like, "Well, do you want to buy his cap, gown, sash, rope, all that stuff?" And she's like, "Are you kidding me? After all the money I spent, you think a cap and gown? Like, yeah, we're gonna get it."
Oh my goodness! That after you found out that diploma wasn't accredited, what did she think? Was she like pissed off or?
We haven't really talked about it. I
Oh,
mean,
okay,
not that my parents and I are, on bad terms. Um, we've, I was a little bitter. I was a lot bitter
sure.
after I got out, but over time, I you can't be bitter forever.
Did you have to get a
So,
GED or something, or did you go back to high school, or what did you do?
I went to college for a little bit. Um, I don't know if it was, I honestly don't know how, with it being not accredited. Um,
Did
it might have helped that my stepmom worked at the college that I went to.
okay.
I did um, have to take like a test to get into college. I don't know if that was part of it or not. I'm not quite sure.
It wasn't a Christian college, was it?
No, 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 no. It was
Okay,
Cincinnati State
okay,
down here in Ohio.
all right. Because usually, I mean, if it was a Christian college, they would have taken you in immediately because it's not your diploma's not accredited, but in the Christian circles, it is basically.
Right,
So,
right.
because we've had a lot of people come on here saying that they had to once they left, they found out that degree was just basically kindling, and they had to go back to high school or get their GED, you know, to go to college and military and all that stuff. So, waste of time.
Big waste, big waste of time.
Yeah.
And it's funny that they're not accredited. I mean, half the students, you would be surprised the ways we figured out how to cheat in that school.
You're not the only person that said that. I mean, we've got a lot of people say, "Yeah, we." I mean, those things were so easy. You know, it was
They
basically that.
literally the school was full of answer books.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah,
had an answer book.
and that stuff was on a fifth grade level. I went through the ACE program too. So, but I was in elementary when that happened. So I was basically able to go back and finish junior high and high school. So I got lucky.
Yeah.
So all right, well, let me see here. So, did you see anything as far as staff members beating up students, or were you
Oh,
were you assaulted at all while you were there?
me personally, no.
Okay,
Um, I kind of I kind of found, the little groove that you could ride and just stay out of sight, out of mind. And I did that for the longest time. But witnessing, yes, all the time witnessed. Um, specifically, one time comes to mind with Brian Clemenson. Um, there was a student. I don't know if you're familiar with the area of the dining hall, but it's this big room, and then towards the front door there's a staircase that like goes up, and that's where like we got our haircut, where they buzzed our heads and everything.
yeah.
And there was a line for haircuts, and the students were waiting up there in line, and Brian had claimed that they weren't supposed to be up there, and he was yelling at one of the students. He was yelling, and he went up there and ended up putting the kid in like self-restraint, like tossing him around and stuff. And it gotten so like serious that even I don't know if you're familiar with Brent Jackson, Brother Jackson.
No.
He was one of the staff members there. He ended up leaving because he thought it was way too far. And that's when it
Oh,
clicked with
okay.
me is
Yeah, I think someone had mentioned his name because they were saying that this staff member had left because things were getting a little bit too hectic, and they were basically assaulting the kids. Yeah,
yeah,
that was
it was
probably
straight up
him.
assault.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's when it clicked with me. I was like, man, when the staff members are talking amongst themselves saying it's going too far, then it's really gone too far.
Oh, definitely. What did you
There was
flip them?
times,
Go ahead.
oh, flip them, toss them around like they tossed us around like rag dolls, like we were, they had these pressure points. Um, there was a there was times where we'd be in the gym and getting gym floors, not carpeted. You're getting picked up and tossed, not just, grabbed and like forced to the ground, but picked up and dropped to the
Dropped.
ground. And um, it's it was just crazy. It's just unnecessary to say the least. Unnecessary. Um, there was times as a staff where they would have me try to help with restraints, and of course, I had to,
Of course.
but
If you didn't, you'd get restrained too. You know what I mean?
right. But I try to be as reasonable as I could as a intern there. I didn't do no pressure points. Most of the times you could talk a student down, de-escalate. You didn't have to restrain them. You didn't have to, unless they were like brawling, like, straight decking each other, then I can understand, you have to get physical and separate them. But that, no. For like saying no to push-ups to be thrown and tossed, no.
No, that's not right. Not at all. But they have they don't try to de-escalate it. They just go from 0 to 10. I mean, just you say something.
Yeah, no, there was never even like, you would think if they wanted to de-escalate, they would have trained me as an intern how to de-escalate.
Right.
There was no training for de-escalation. There was no. It was, this is how we do things. You've been here for long enough. You know that we do this.
Oh man, I just those guys. What can you do? You- So you just want to punch them right in their face. You know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I was tiny. Like I'm small now, but like I've grown a foot since, I was there. And I'm thinking about, how small I was then and how small some of the kids. I remember there was one kid there, I think he had been there forever. I think his name was like Benson. I forget his last name.
Well,
But
let's just go with first names or last
Ben,
names. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna get full names. Anyways, but he had been there forever. And I'm thinking, man, like, because he was there as like a little kid. Like we were all little kids, but like I mean like young, like
Preteen, basically.
preteen. That's all he knew at that point. Um, yeah, I still remember my first nights there. I still remember my first nights out. Even when you leave, it doesn't feel like you're gone. There was months that I woke up still thinking I was there because you're so used to it. After being there for so long, you're so used to waking up routine. It's the same thing every day. And to this day, I tell people, even with the abuse, even with, you know, the grading of the students, of of who they are as a person.
Yeah.
I think the worst part of Agape was realizing that you're there, because it doesn't come on immediately. You're there for a while. Like I said, for the whole year that I was there, for the first year that I was there, I kept believing that my parents were going to show up any minute. They're going to come right through that door. They're going to come in. But the most degrading part of that experience is when it hits you that they weren't coming, and it just becomes everyday life. At that point, you stop expecting something different,
Like it's
and it's just
basically survival now. You're on your own.
yeah, it's just living it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of guys have said they just, like you said, they just lay low, try not to ruffle any feathers, So,
Yeah, it's like walking on, when they say walking on pin needles. Everywhere you go, you can't upset. You can't. It was like you couldn't upset them personally. If you got on their little personal feelings, it was all of a sudden part of the program to discipline you.
right. And I'm sure they had their favorites. And some they
Oh,
did.
favoritism was so big in that school, so
Yeah.
big.
And if they didn't like you, they would make an example out of you. I
For
didn't
sure,
even,
for sure.
but I didn't even go there. But from hearing all the testimonies from you guys, I mean, I'm glad I didn't. I'd probably be in prison for murder if it was
It's
me.
funny you say that. It's funny you say that because their number one thing that they preach during our little chapel time is, statistics say that the majority of you guys will end up dead or in prison after leaving here. And I'm like, where's that on the brochure? Like, like,
Well, the reason why they say it is because they've screwed you up mentally so much that you're confused. You know, like you say, you get those flashbacks for when like you're still there. You know, once they mind fuck you like that, some you end up turning to drugs, or I mean, not everybody, but some people will turn to drugs, or they'll turn to crime, and they will end up dead or in jail. So they're right. I mean, their mental abuse causes it. You know,
for
I mean,
sure,
yeah, sure. Like you said, you were smoking weed, and you were, being a normal teenager. What normal teenagers do. And if
right?
if you hadn't gone to that, if you didn't go to that school and you went to regular junior high, high school, probably would have turned out fine. You know, you didn't have to go to that school to you don't go to church or anything, do you?
Um, I did for a while. I mean, I'm Christian. I'm just not that Christian to where I'm going every Sunday or something,
Okay.
whatever.
You're not
So
a,
like
you're not a, you're not an independent fundamental Baptist, then.
oh no, by far no,
Yeah,
by
those
far
guys.
I'm allowed to show my shoulders and my knees.
Ah,
And the women are allowed to show their shoulders and their knees. My God, let me see some ankle and whoa, you know,
yeah, yes.
woe be me.
It's practically pornography when they show their ankles, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, their way of thinking is so screwed up. Because like I said, this was all started by Lester Roloff. I'm sure you're familiar with Lester Roloff. You've heard of
yeah.
him, I'm sure. Yeah,
I've heard of them. There was like a roll-off building that they named after him, the roll-off dorms.
yeah, yeah. He believed the Bible literally. Literally, I mean, whatever it said, it was the truth. How you discipline your kids, it says it. Of course, the one thing he never did though, because it says in the Bible that if your kid talks back to you or disrespects you, you can stone him to death. Haven't seen any kids stoned to death, so I guess he didn't take the Bible that literally.
think
As,
I
as
think bringing that up, there's another part in the Bible. It says that if you rape a woman, you could basically pay off her father,
yeah,
and you were a-okay.
50
And
shekels. Yeah. But if you rape a woman that's married, they kill both of you. So the poor woman dies even though she was a victim. The Bible's funny that way. But he believed the Bible was basically everything you need. You don't need no books, you don't need no magazines, you don't need nothing like that. All you need is the Bible. Everything that you need for your life is in that book. How he knew that, I'll never know. But
I mean, I believe you should base your life off of it, but not to the point where, like I smoke, I smoke cigarettes, I drink, but I don't believe, I'm damned to hell because of it.
no.
I have tattoos. I don't think, that I'm damned to hell because of it. But that was another reason why I wanted to go visit so bad to see my friends that were still there. And well, there was two things that stopped me. One of the things was I didn't want to be ridiculed for the tattoos I had, for, you know, I had earrings in. I didn't want, all this, that, and the other, not shaving. I didn't want to have to change who I was just to go visit.
Yeah. Because they definitely would have ridiculed you. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Would have called you a sinner, damned to hell, all because of the tattoos and the drinking and smoking. Oh well. It's
They
their
told
loss.
they one of the things they preach is that, once you're saved, you're always saved. Be you can't like lose that. Um so then I asked the question, I was like, well then how how is it that, people do these things and oh, you need to be saved. Well, I was already saved. Well, you must have not have been saved. You must have thought wrong. Um
Yeah,
you got it wrong last time. We gotta do it right this time.
right. You weren't truly repentant when you got saved. You were still hiding a little bit of sin in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
I've heard that whole spiel before too. I've heard it, once you're saved, always saved. Yeah. So what does that mean? I get saved and I can go out and rape and pillage and do everything like that and die
Right.
and still go to heaven?
Right.
You know, what a joke. But yeah, those Baptists, man, I mean, they're not like, well, they are actually. They are getting, I've seen in the news lately where they've been getting caught with child pornography or caught raping kids and stuff. It's like the stuff they tell you guys not to do, they're doing it,
Right.
you know,
Right.
homosexuality, they're doing that. Um, Incest and adultery, all that. They're doing it all. They just do it behind closed doors, you know.
Right.
Do as I say, not as I do. That's their
It's
motto. So,
yeah.
so let me kind of gear a little bit, turn it, kind of change the conversation a bit. I asked this of a lot of guys that went there because some of them liked it, some of them didn't. How was the food? Because some guys say it
Man.
was awesome. Some guys say it was delicious, except for, of course, the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in Browntown. But some
Oh,
said
not
it was,
even jelly, just peanut butter.
just
Just peanut
peanut
butter
butter.
on bread.
So
And when I went there, there was times where it wasn't even peanut butter on bread. It was, have you ever seen those like um canned refried beans? Like it comes out basically in its same shape.
yeah, in a can, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes Browntown didn't even get peanut butter sandwiches because I remember in
Oh,
Browntown, for the Browntown, I worked in the kitchen, so I would, sneak a little sugar into their,
uh huh.
into their peanut butter sandwiches, so it's not, the worst. But I remember there was times where Julio would have us literally take a can, wrap a cold tortilla around it while it was still, the beans were cold, and that was their food.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand that. I mean, you're working them out all day just to give them the bare minimum of food. You
Sure.
would think they would need the extra calories, the extra. But no.
Yeah, but I mean, when they're working you out that hard, because I've heard how hard they've worked you guys out. I mean, you need to replace minerals, vitamins, all that stuff. You know, your body
Oh, yeah,
burns it all up, and it needs to get replenished. Electrolytes and all that. I'm sure they did give you Gatorade, and they were skimpy on the water. You know,
yeah, no, no Gatorade. The most we had that wasn't water were like sodas that you could purchase through what they called like Agape bucks, and you earned Agape bucks by doing your schoolwork. And it would take like, I think it was like, I want to say maybe like 50. I'm not quite sure in the exact number of Agape bucks, but you earned maybe 5 or 10. Yeah, you got 10 Agape bucks if you got 100 on your packet or whatever on your. But if you got anything, lower, it was 5. So you'd sat there and wait forever and cherish this soda. And then there was times where the staff member would take your soda after you bought it as like a disciplinary thing. Oh, you don't get this.
yeah. So how much did the sodas cost?
I want to say they were either 50 or 100, one of those two. Um, I didn't really drink the sodas too much because, being a diabetic, that was
Right.
another thing. They didn't really have a lot of diets. Uh,
Hmm.
but the one thing I did earn one time and I got taken away from me, and this is probably the only outburst I ever had in that school. And they told me if I memorized a chapter of the Bible, I could earn a smash burger. And when I tell you I spent day and night, because like you said, the food, I hated the food. I forgot I didn't answer that question. Yeah, no, I hated the food.
a,
Um,
s- a smash burger. What is that?
so it's like a restaurant that was in town
Okay.
that they made these really good burgers. And no, it wasn't a smash burger. It's similar to smash burger. It's like it it if anybody's ever had smash burger, it's basically the same thing. It's just not called that.
Okay.
I just always called it smash burgers. Um, but I memorized it. I had to say it in front of the whole school, whatever. And I earned my smash burger. And when it came down to getting it, I had done some little stupid thing wrong, made some like smart remark or something, not even out of like negativity, just out of like, all, jokes. And a
Right.
staff member took it wrong and told me I couldn't have my smash burger. And I was so furious. I was furious because I'd worked and I'd stayed up late at night, memorizing this verse for verse for verse. And it I ended up getting my smash burger. I guess they didn't want the scene. But no, the food there, it was the same every week. So even if you did like it in the beginning, I don't see how people could continue to eat the same thing and continue to like it. The only differences that changed were occasions like Christmas or if the parents were there, that might make something different.
For sure.
Or if
Got
you
it.
worked in the kitchen,
Yeah.
you could. make yourself something
You
different.
got to keep up that facade, you know.
Right.
I know what you mean. I'll tell you, man, food's very important, and it sucks whenever if you get food, if you're in a place like that, you get food that you don't like, and that's what they're serving you day in and day out. That'll piss anybody off, you know.
Yeah. The worst part about the food was they didn't. They kept all their leftovers through the week, and that was your meal. I believe it was Sunday night. So you could have food from Monday, the hot dogs from Monday, a week later on Sunday.
Hmm. Well, it's just I'm I'm sure that the staff didn't eat the same things you guys were eating. I'm sure they were eating differently. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they might have put on a facade that they were eating, but they could always go out of town, grab what they wanted, and I never, I never saw them eat with us. Well, not with us in their own little section,
Yeah.
unless it was on Sunday, which the church days, and we had like burgers and stuff before church. But the leftovers didn't happen till everybody was gone, and it was just the boys.
Did they have any female staff members or any females on the premises? You know, staff member daughters or something?
Um, they try to keep the females away from us as much as possible. Um, there was one that worked in the kitchen. I'm not going to name her name because she'll be brought up later. I'm not even going to name first name. Um, and then there was one female that I got to work with because I was in their trio, their singing group, whatever. They got to go to the Capitol and stuff like that. And she was the pianist. But other than those two, and maybe they had like this little slot that we put our paces through, where the wives would grade our paces. That's the only really contact we had with any of the females there.
Mm. That's enough to get a teenage boy a case of the blue balls. You know what I mean?
Right, and it's so funny. Me and my friends talk about like how like desperate we were back then because we didn't talk to anybody. It was just talking to guys. And if a female looked at us from across the church, we're like, oh, whatever. They must like us. Like, no, like it was nothing like that.
And I'm sure you were being watched the whole time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
eyes like a hawk
was
on us at all times.
was Brian given the sermons or was Julio given the sermons
For the chapel
for
services
chapel?
or for
Yeah,
the church?
for the chapel.
For chapel, it changed. They had like a schedule where different staff members would preach, and sometimes most of the time it was Julio. Um, Other times it would be Brother Jackson. Other times it was, you know, just different
Yeah.
people
Did
at
they
different
have
times.
did they have pastors from other churches come in and guest speak?
During our camps, so we had like sports camps. Um, so basically, a sports camp was like a week that we would do a certain sport, whether it be football, softball, because we weren't allowed to play baseball, um, or soccer, wrestling. They would have, a another school come into town and
Right.
do that kind of stuff.
Okay. So let me turn back a little bit because I can't remember if you said this or not, but you were never thrown on the flipped over and thrown on the ground, basically.
I was restrained.
You were restrained. Okay, yeah.
but never tossed around. If you were smart about it, you got on the floor before they got to you.
Plus, they knew you were diabetic, so they probably didn't want to,
Right.
have to send you to
Don't
the
want to
hospital.
lose an asset. Don't want to
Yeah,
lose an asset.
send you to the hospital. That way, people will start wondering, oh, how come his arm is broken in 4 places? Kind of makes you wonder, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, well, we got about 5 minutes left. Is there anything else that you saw or may have happened to you?
One thing I did want to
Yeah.
bring up. When my first night there, um, probably the key to my survival of the place was one of the students came to my rack at night, big old dude, and he came up to me and he could tell that I was distraught, and he looked at me and he said, "There's one way you're going to survive this place." And I looked at him, I said, "How?" And he said, "Forget about emotions and don't ever let them see you cry," because he said those two things will tear you apart here. Like having any sort of emotion, like don't be sad that you're here or whatever, because if you're focusing on that, you'll never make it through. And that's basically what I lived those 2 years that I was there, was forget about emotions and never let them see you cry.
So basically, have a poker face, basically.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yep. That's usually how it usually works. It works. Just get by day by day till you're out of that place and don't look back. So,
Right.
man, that's
But I'm hoping on the system to take care of that place. I
well,
mean,
I've read that Julio Sandoval is getting indicted.
oh
So,
really?
yeah, for I guess something about kidnapping, because that little side business that he has where he takes kids, out of the house into Agape.
Middle
Yeah,
of the night? Yeah.
yeah, cross state lines sometimes. So, yeah, I just saw a small little story on that. I don't know. I haven't read anything else on whether he has been, convicted of anything yet. Um, so maybe sometime in the near future they'll have something that will some sort of news story saying that he's either in prison getting his bunghole reamed out, or he got out on a
Roles reversed.
yeah, or got out on a technicality. Who knows? So,
Yeah.
but they're already. I think they're down. Somebody was saying they were down to like 20 kids now, or something like that. So they're starting to
Oh, that's
dwindle.
crazy.
Yeah, they're starting to dwindle now. Um, they're basically just buying time. I think someone also said they're selling land, because they're running out of money. You know, so I think their joyride is over. You know what I mean? So
Well, good thing.
only problem with that is, Oscar, is that the ones that don't get uh, indicted or convicted go to another state and set up shop again and start it all over. You
Yeah,
know?
because I've heard that's what they've done before. They haven't always been in Stockton, Missouri.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they were on the West Coast for a while. It was under another name, but yeah, I mean, but
change
they're
the name,
all,
change the location.
yep, pretty much. You go to a state where they don't have laws that can hinder your operation like they do in Missouri, where so just stay hidden and hopefully nobody comes out and say you beat them up or something. But like I said, they
Well,
go back and
there'll
forth.
always be people that'll talk. There will always be people that'll talk and expose them.
Oh yeah. I mean now, yeah. But back in the
Now,
day, yeah, back in the day, people were too afraid to talk, you know.
right,
So yeah, yeah, religion has that effect on people sometimes. Afraid of going to hell, afraid of letting their parents down or something like that. It depends on the situation. So, but like I said, Roloff, he had four schools, I believe: Jubilee Home, Anchor Boys, um, Rebecca Home. They had one for adult males too. Can't remember it, but he also had one out in Arizona, Florida. I mean, just they're all over the place. And like I said, one shuts down, another one pops up either in the same state or a different state. So, yeah, it's sad, but it happens.
yeah. Well, they only have so many states that they can run to.
That's true. That's true. And when they start, doing operations in Alaska, maybe it won't be so bad. But you know,
Uh,
but until then, I mean, there's a lot of advocates out there that are trying to get these homes shut down. Thank goodness. You know, me, I'm just the middle guy basically. Because I've had the Missouri newspapers take clips from this podcast and you know send it off to the higher ups, in the Missouri Senate and all that stuff. So it's slow justice, but it's happening. You know what I mean?
right.
So hopefully, Agape will be shut down soon. How soon? I don't know, but it's going to happen eventually.
Eventually,
You know,
and that justice will be sweet, sweet justice.
yeah, it'll be sweet justice, but it'll be justice that came too late for some people.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks, but you take what you get. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Gotta
take
look
the
out for the future.
Yep, you take the win. So before we um, shut this down, how are you doing now? Like mentally, if you're working a
Um,
job, are you able to do well in whatever you're doing?
right now, not because of Agape, but right now I'm out of work just due to medical reasons. There's complications with the diabetes and stuff.
Sure.
But uh, fixing that. But with the mental stuff, um, I have to see a psychiatrist, and coming this Friday, I have to see a therapist too to talk about these things and how it's affected me mentally. Um, they've got me on depression meds, anxiety meds. Um, I think mostly the only thing I really, really got from Agape mentally was I have attachment problems. I feel like, you know, people give up on me, like they're gonna give up on me because that was how I felt there, like I had been given up on.
Sure.
And that's what we're attacking right now with my therapist is some of the repercussions from being there.
Well, I'm glad that you're getting the help you need. Even if it's just something temporarily to get you mentally stable again, and you know and whatever medication you need. That's good because they sure as hell didn't do it at Agape. They withheld all that stuff. I'm sure except for the
Right,
insulin, but yeah, I mean, just, when someone's on those types of medications, they're not on it just to be on it. They're on it for a reason. You know what I mean? And to take it away
right.
from them, you can seriously damage that person. So, but yeah, but it's good to see that you're doing well. I hope you get the diabetes under control. So,
Thank you.
yeah. But like I said, we well, after I stop the podcast, stay on the line, okay, so I can talk to you for a few more minutes. But let me go ahead and just let everybody know, if you want to be on the podcast, it's down here below somewhere. It's like right here. It's scrolling on the bottom. Just go to tinyurl.com/hammer dates, I believe is what it is, and sign up. I have to post some more dates on there that I'll be available. So you can want to come on, whatever it is, whether it's about Agape or whether it's about anything. Come on in. Let's have a discussion. All right. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and that way we get more views on this, get the word out a lot faster. So, Oscar, I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You there's not a lot of people that talk about this in front of a big audience. You know what I mean? Some people just keep it inside and don't want to, and that's fine. Whatever you want to do, is how you heal is totally up to you. So, but thanks for coming on, and let's see here. I think that's about all I got. I think maybe soon, for everybody out there listening, we'll be hopefully talking about this Julio thing. I'll see if I can get James Griffey on there to help talk about it, and maybe Laura too. And there's another one about some pastor that was caught with God knows how many pictures of child pornography, but something to talk about. I think he worked for Agape too. So, but we'll get into that later. So for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. Thanks for watching. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other. We'll see you in the next podcast.